What a pleasure to be sitting next to this guy, a legend in Music City, Jerry Foster. Welcome, Jerry.
Thank you very much, Scott. But most legends I know don't live anymore. So I'm still alive and kicking. In case you don't pick it up, I'm for real. This is not a replay.
One of the living legends, Jerry Foster, one of the all-time greatest songwriters in Music City and any city you see behind us. These are just a handful of the awards that he's gotten in his career. Jerry, when was the first song that you ever wrote? How old were you?
God, I don't really know. I'm from a small town in southeast Missouri, and the newspaper was carrying my poetry when I was in junior high school.
Really?
Yeah, I went to art class and I couldn't draw a glass. And so, but I'd write on the back of the assignment, when I painted this, I sat in a chair. Then I went home and had a nightmare. And I was doing those little vignettes, and they were probably, I didn't know it. The art teacher was taking it to the newspaper, and they were printing my stuff when I was in the 8th grade.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was really weird.
So you started writing songs, were you in the Marines?
Yes.
And you found time as you were doing your duty for the country to start writing songs. Tell me how that happened.
Well, what happened was I grew up on a farm picking cotton in southeast Missouri. And I wanted to get off that farm worse than anything. And because of where my birthday was located, I got to start school when I was 5 years old. And so I graduated early. And I was wanting to go in the Marine Corps anyway. And so my dad wouldn't sign the papers. He said, Jerry, there's a war going on. And I said, well, you taught me to fire a shotgun when I was 9 years old. We had to kill rabbits to have something to eat. And he said, rabbits don't shoot back.
Wow.
So what I did, I joined the National Guard, which in the long run helped me because my enlistment date started earlier than most of them. And besides that, I'd learned to field strip an M1 before I got in the Marine Corps. So it kept me from getting hit a lot in boot camp.
and gave you a little time to start writing songs. You got out of
after I got out of boot camp.
Okay.
I'd been writing. We used to have family reunions, and like I said, I could rhyme and meter when I was little. And they thought it was cute that Jerry could rhyme jig and pig, 2 or 3 things. And then they let me start singing with them a little bit when I was about, I guess, 7 or 8 years old. And the whole side of my dad's family was musical. My dad played piano in church, played French harp, played guitar. And so when I was about 7, he taught me 3 chords on the guitar. And I got to tell you, Scott, I haven't improved any. But I had a good ear because I could hear good musicians, so I hired good people in my band. But by the time I got out of the Marine Corps, I came home on boot leave and got married to my childhood sweetheart. And the last day I was in town, we eloped. And so immediately I went back into the Marines and got a place off base. And that's where we started, put a little band together, and we started rehearsing and stuff. So that's kind of how, that's really where I started to really work with the music industry,
You moved to Nashville. You started as a radio DJ here?
Yeah, but when I moved to Nashville, I didn't have a gig at all. And Bill Rice, the guy that ran the radio station in Malden, Missouri, they hired me first. I didn't know what I was doing. I'd been on radio, WBEU in Beaufort, South Carolina, but all I was doing was a little bit of singing with that little group I was telling you about. And I graduated from that TV in 2 weeks. I went to buy some shirts alike because I'm a stickler for a band looking like a band.
Sure.
And I went to Savannah to get them, some shirts alike that you wouldn't see in Beaufort. And when I did, I walked under a sign. My bass player outranked me. He was a gunny sergeant. And he said, if you're any kind of band leader, you get us on television. I looked up and said, WSAV right over my head. I said, follow me. I crashed a business meeting. And the guy that's sitting at the end of the table, later I found out it was Elmer Alley, who used to manage the Grand Ole Opry. That was a sister station to WSM, and they had sent him down there to put a band on the air. And I walked in and handed them exactly what they was looking for, but I crashed it. I'm all right by the receptionist. And when he said, "Who are you and what can I do for you?" I said, "I'm Jerry Foster, and you put me on television. What do you got?" And when I finished telling me, he said, "Can you come back and audition Wednesday night?" And I said, "Yeah." We never even went back to the radio station, so I was on radio for 2 weeks.
Wow. Well, I was on the radio for quite a few years when I started out, and I played all the songs that you wrote.
Oh, God.
The songs that I was playing, this guy wrote. How many songs that you have written, and how many have been recorded?
Well, Bill Rice and I wrote together for 20 years. And Bill Hall was publishing us, and when we started out, we had Jack Clement as well. And so I guess Bill and I have written, I'm going to guess, around 1,400 songs, I guess. And we've had, I'm going to say about 500 recorded, because I had 200 chart singles.
Wow.
Yeah, and we became the most awarded songwriting team in the history of ASCAP. So I guess not too bad for a couple old country boys.
And so how did you and Bill meet?
We met at a theater that Johnny Morris, who was managing KWOC in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, 5,000 watt station. And he was bringing in people, and especially the early years of Sun, like jerryreed, Charley Pride, a bunch of those guys. And so we were kind of, and I was on a major, and so was Bill. And so we became separate acts, but kind of opening acts for the big people. And Bill was on stage. And so it's a wonder he ever talked to me after that first show, because I was rockabilly more than just country. And in the middle of the thing, his wife was sitting in the front row. I didn't know who she was. And I jumped off the stage and almost landed in her lap. And he told me later on the way home, she said, "Whatever you do, don't ever have anything to do with Jerry Foster. He's crazy." So that's how Bill and I met.
And you spent the next 2 decades together,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's a little thing I need to tell you about that too. It's really funny because Bill was recording for Dot Records. And he was, the next time we played, the second time we did it, maybe a month or so, Johnny brought somebody else and we were there too. And he told me, he said, "Jerry, I'm going to Memphis." He said, "You got any songs you want to play me?" I said, "There's a tape in the car, just take it with you. If you find anything, just go ahead and cover whatever you want." Okay. And so we wound up maybe a month or so after that in we were playing at a high school in Culin, Missouri. And I said, "Bill, did you do any of the songs off of that tape I gave you?" He said, "Yeah, Jerry, but I got to tell you something." I said, "What?" He said, "You write the greatest lyric I've ever heard." He said, "But all your melodies sound alike." I said, "Sing me something you wrote." And when he did, I said, "My God, a third grader could write better lyrics than that." And that's how we decided to work together.
And so he would always write the melody, you would do the words? Is that how?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, he played, Bill Rice was really a good musician. He could do all the passing chords. And so sometimes I'd have a basic melody, and Bill would enhance it with the passing chords and stuff. And it just worked out. At one time, Scott, we had 10 songs in the Billboard singles charts at one time and didn't know it. We were still in that room creating, you know.
Wow.
So I guess, and we went for, I can't remember if it's 5 or 7 years without ever being out of the charts. So it worked for us.
Now, when you moved here, you also got a contract to sing.
Yeah.
And not just be a songwriter.
We never had a piece of paper between us.
Really?
No, handshake. That was it.
So when you were dreaming of moving here, were you dreaming of being a songwriter
Yes.
or a singer or both?
Both. But the thing of it was, Bill was from Corning, Arkansas, which as a crow flies is about 50 miles from where I was from. His
Really?
dad was the sheriff of Clay County. So my boss, the guy that ran the radio station, owned a third of it. When President Kennedy got shot, he went to Dallas to get an engineer's ticket because we couldn't keep engineers. And while he was gone, I was in charge of the station, so I hired Bill Rice. He had hired Norval Phelps, who's from 6 or 8 miles from where I was. And Norval lasted 3 days and
Really?
said, "Man, I can't do this. You know how Norval was. And so he quit. And I don't think they ever got the record straightened out. So it used to be an alphabetical order. I don't know what they were when Norval got through with it. So I hired Bill.
Wow.
So when Dick came in he was the boss, from Dallas, Texas, he was there when Kennedy got shot. He said, Jerry, what did you do when the president got shot? And I said, I started playing Mantovani and some classic things and reading the ticker tape. I killed all commercials. He said, you did exactly the right thing. He said, did anything else go wrong while I was gone? And I said, yeah, Norval quit.
Man.
And he said, what did you do? I said, I hired Bill Rice. He said, when are you going to learn that musicians won't stick with you? I said, how long I've been with you, Dick?
Well,
so me and Bill stayed there, but down toward the end when we decided to come to Nashville, Scott, I got a job at a radio station in Piedmont, so that was a small station in Malden, and I didn't want both of us to leave at the same time. And so I told Bill, I said, okay, when we think we can compete with Dallas Frazier and Dude Owens, we'll move to Nashville. He said, okay. And so, well, I had agreed to stay at Piedmont until I got them into black. And they were pretty far into red. And they thought it was going to take them 2 years. I went to work January 1st, 1967, gave them my notice and moved May the 1st, 1967. There wasn't anybody left to sell.
Really?
That TV show I had at Cape Girardeau, plus the radio, I'd walk in and they didn't want to talk about anything. They'd say, how's Judy doing? The little girl I had singing and stuff, and ask about different members of the band.
Wow.
So I'd say, would you like me to tell you about the spots I want to tell you about? Okay, how much is it? I'd tell them, and say, okay, I've signed a contract, bang, that was it. But Dick didn't like it much that I'd got the TV show, and I told him, I said, I'm going to do you the biggest favor you ever had because I know what television does. And I said, this is going to really help us all the way around, even with the radio. So the little station, we formed a little network with about 4 or 5 other radio stations in the Boot Hill, and we'd do our morning news. Each one had a certain amount of time that they could kick in from Crothersville, Kennett, Dexter. So that's what we were doing.
When you and Bill Rice teamed up, 1972 probably about, was this when this picture was taken?
That's when we went in the Hall of Fame.
This
sorry, this was.
This is the wheelbarrow.
Yeah, that's a gold.
Tell me about
painted,
the wheelbarrow. Why is it needed here?
Well, because that year, the guy over here, that was my publisher. That's Bill Hall. This is Ed Shea, who was running the Nashville ASCAP company. That's Bill Rice. This is he wrote What a Difference a Day Makes. It's Adler. He was the president of ASCAP period out of New York, and that's me when I had dark hair. But this is a gold wheelbarrow, and there's 30 awards in here. And we thought we struck out because they waited till the end of the evening when they were handing out the awards. We were last, and I thought, Bill, we have not. I thought we had some awards coming, and they came rolling this gold wheelbarrow out.
Full of all your awards.
Yeah. So it was really cool. But
then the next year, did you win even more?
No, the next year we won, we went back to 5, but 74. We won 10, we won 11 Writers Awards and 5 Production Awards.
I knew that you ended up winning more.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
We set records. I think nobody's ever broke the 5 except us.
Needed a wheelbarrow for all your awards.
Baron Young stopped me after all that happened the next night. We went in a little bar where we all used to hang out, and Chris Thompson worked there for a little while. And he said, Foster, that was the cheapest publicity trick I've ever seen in my life. And I said, what are you talking about? That wheelbarrow, that's what I'm talking about. I said, Baron, I didn't have anything to do with that. And I said, in fact, it embarrassed me a little bit. And he said, and I said, but since it bothered you a little bit, maybe it was the best thing ever happened to me. He said, well, I'll tell you what it did for me. I won't be cutting any of your songs. And I said, you know what, Baron? I looked all the way through that wheelbarrow, and I couldn't find your name on anything. And he said, well, that does it. I never will cut one of your songs. We're doing this shtick. We've known each other since 1956. And I said, you know what, if you told me that 2 years ago, it would have broken my heart. but I don't need you anymore. And he said, let me buy you a beer. Then everybody caught on that we were pulling each other's legs at work.
All right, let's talk about some of your biggest hits.
Okay.
Like I said, I played all these on the radio. Ain't She Something Else?
Oh, yeah.
Conway Twitty took it to the top in '85, 10 years after Eddie Raven had it.
Yes, Eddie Raven had it first. And Eddie Raven had a great version of that song. But I didn't even know Conway had cut it. But he told Raven, Eddie told me this himself, and I knew Conway really well, we were friends, but he told Raven, he said, when you get the sweet tooth out of that, I'm going to cut it. And he did.
Ain't She Something Else?
Yep.
Old Pair of Shoes, Randy Travis had a pretty good hit with that.
Yes.
Giving Up Easy, my pal Leon Everett, he had a big hit. I played that one on the radio.
Wow, I started him on
Really?
a little label called Orlando, which his cousin owned.
Yep.
Because he needed someplace to record. So he paid for the session, his cousin, and we put it on his label. And it was really funny because when when the first session I did on him, that was one of the first things I cut on him. And later, he had he had a top 10 on that little label.
Oh, yes.
And Jerry Bradley called me from RCA, and he wanted to see me. I went over and he said, I found out you've been producing Leon Everett. Can you bring him over here? And I said, I'd be glad to get rid of him, sure.
Leon, he's still a great guy today.
Oh, I love him.
Dave and Sugar, Gotta Quit Looking at You, Baby.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
That was a big hit, 78. Mickeygilley, they don't come any bigger than Here Comes the Herd Again.
Yeah, first song that he did in the Urban Cowboy movie.
Really? It was in Urban Cowboy, too.
Yeah.
Wow.
I thought, and still, until he died, Mickey and I stayed really close friends. I went to his little memorial celebration they had for him in Branson, and because I was in town for another award that close to Branson, so I didn't even know that's what it was, and I found out they were having that, and I went down. You know what, let me tell you something, our irony about that time. Mickey and Jerry combined cut, I think it was 39 songs for me and Rice. We had 21 cuts on Jerry Lee and 19 on Mickey.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But they died the same year.
Yeah.
Mickey died first, and then Jerry Lee. And Bill Rice died, and the next year, same year my wife died, on Jerry Lee's death date. They died exactly a year apart.
Well, they left a legacy of amazing music thanks to you.
Oh, no. Man, Jerry Lee, what people didn't realize, he really could really sing. Half the time what he was doing was shtick. You know, he was something else.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you something funny about one of the number ones we had on him, which you'll probably mention here. He tagged it with "Think About It, Darling," and my phone rang when the other one was number one, and it was Jerry Kennedy from Mercury, and I was recording for Mercury at the same time. And he said, "Foster, if you'll write a song called 'Think About It, Darling,' I'll get Jerry Lee to cut it." And I said, "Okay," and he did. That song was not written for him. It was written for another artist, and he turned it down.
Really?
Yeah, big artist. And I knew him when he was a drummer. So, but anyway, when he'd already done this and some time goes by, and Jerry Lee come to town looking for songs, he'd changed labels. I think he might have been on Elektra. And Earl Owens called me and he said, "Foster Killer's in my office, and he wants to know if you got some songs you'd bring to him." So I put 6 songs on a reel-to-reel. And when I walked in Earl's office, Jerry Lee was sitting there with that big cigar. He said, "Hey, Killer, don't you owe me some money?" And I said, "For what?" He said, "Didn't I give you a title?" I said, "Did it go number one, Jerry Lee?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Wasn't that number one? Drop me another title." He never mentioned it again, and he cut all 6 songs I had on the tape.
Well, we're going to get back to Jerry Lee in just a moment. Okay. Let's see. Mark Chestnut, "It Wouldn't Hurt to Have Wings."
Yes. That thing, I think, went to 5.
One of my favorite ones that you did, man, it's been recorded by Hank Jr., Glenn Campbell, Connie Smith. I'll give you another one here in a minute. But Johnny Paycheck had the big hit, Someone to Give My Love To.
That's our most recorded song.
Man, and one, everybody knows it by Johnny, Robert Goulet.
Yes. And Slim Whitman did that thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Someone to Give My Love To.
It was all over the place, and it was cut R&B. But I got to tell you something. Let me tell you a little funny story about that real quick.
Sure.
The people that didn't cut it, okay? When Lawrence bought the companies, he let me and Bill start producing some acts for him. He was one of the nicest people I've ever seen in my life. Anyway, he threw a party for us in L.A. at the Bistro when he bought the companies for me and Rice. He threw the party for me and Rice. And the producer of Sonny and Cher came up to me, and he had cut When You Say Love on Sonny and Cher. I know you probably mentioned that later. And he told me that. He said, Jerry, we almost got you another hit. And I said, what? He said, Someone to Give My Love To. We had the tracks. And he said, we're going through a divorce. They started throwing ashtrays at each other in the studio, and we never got their voice on the track. So I missed the Sonny and Cher cut because
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. But did they record some of your stuff?
Yeah, they recorded When You Say Love.
Okay, yeah, we'll get to that one in a minute.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Someone to Give My Love To, Tracy Byrd had a...
Yeah, I brought him back, actually.
Yeah.
He was fixing to get dropped, and he cut that song. And
Wow.
he and Paycheck had fun with that on the Opry, because Paycheck had the first #1 on that. Well, first time.
1968, Charley Pride, man, the easy part's over.
First
Wow.
award winner that you could hang up on the wall. And it was a BMI award, not an ASCAP.
That was your first award winner?
Yeah.
Or Charley?
No, mine. Mine Bill's.
So Charley recorded that. Kitty Wells, Steve Warner had a hit with it as well.
Yes, that was ASCAP when he did it.
But a surprising one that recorded it, Louis Armstrong.
Yes. Sometimes I work a lot at the Commodore. I do the feature there, and I do that song a lot in the feature. And so I end the last two lines with, "Oh, the easy part's over now."
That's fantastic. Wow.
I love that cut, because not many hillbillies had a Louis Armstrong cut.
Well, you mentioned Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yes.
Of all the songs that you've recorded, my all-time favorite, 39 and Holding.
That was his last hit.
I love that song, and I'm 39 and holding everything he can, from 17 to 25.
Yeah, I kind of got the age a little bit low,
Now-
but it was 3 syllables.
So tell me about that. I was wondering about that line. So he's 39 and holding everything he can.
Yep.
From 17 to 25 to prove he's still a man. So that's pretty, 17.
Well, that's what I'm saying. 17 is 3 syllables. 18 is
Wouldn't
2.
work.
It wouldn't phrase right. Of course, that wouldn't matter to Jerry Lee. It don't phrase right anyway. but that's why it was 18.
17 was too old for him. So,
Yeah, he did start younger than that.
but I love that song.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It didn't take very long to write that. Eddie Kilroy was producing Jerry Lee when we did that. And it was funny because he called me and he said, "Boss, I need something for Jerry Lee." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "Just something really different." And I said, "Okay, I'll just send over my biography, autobiography."
And that was it?
That was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we mentioned When You Say Love.
Yes.
Now, see, I'm from Illinois, Central Illinois, where we have the Cubs and the Cardinals.
Yes. Quite.
And Budweiser was advertising on them.
Yes.
And that song, it was the Budweiser theme song, wasn't it?
No, what was funny was, I had seen the commercial, right?
Yeah.
And we had a whole different melody for that, but we're writing in Bill's house. And I'll use the Budweiser thing because I could play that. And when I did it, Bill had another melody. And so we did both of them. And Bill Hall, and I told him, I said, if we do that, whoever cuts that's going to get us sued if it's a hit. And he said, well, you're nobody in the music business, so you've been sued at least once. And he thought it was funny. So he said, no, we're going to use that melody. And I said, okay. And so we did. And that thing started rocketing up the charts like a monkey up a flagpole, you know. And Sonny and Cher covered Lumen. We had 14 cuts on Lumen.
Wow.
So he just kept coming back. But I just thought it was kind of cool.
And so
we got sued. And the guy that's supposed to represent us, if they'd done the lawsuit here in Nashville, we'd have probably been okay. But they did it in New York. And Steve Carmen, who never wrote a hit in his life, wrote the commercial for him, the little ditty. Mm. And that's who sued us. He didn't even know that it had been cut anywhere else. And he was at a party in New York, and Sonny and Cher had the pop hit on it. And he was being congratulated by somebody at the party on his hit song. And then he found out about it, he got a lawyer.
Wow. And so first it was When You Say Bud.
Yes.
And
no,
then,
it was When You Say Love.
Oh,
I just used the melodies, what I used.
Okay.
Oh, you be talking about the commercial?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The commercial, and then you turned When You Say Love into the big hit.
Yeah.
And so did you end up getting money from the song even after the
Oh,
lawsuit?
yeah. He had to settle for a small percentage of it. And it took a lot of the publishing from my publisher, too, so he made out like a bandit.
Now, Jerry, all those people recorded your songs. Did Elvis ever record any?
No, there's a story about that, too. I always forget his producer's name. He was RCA for years.
Felton Jarvis?
Yes, Felton Jarvis called Bill Hall and said, Elvis wants a Foster and Rush song. He said, they know me, and they will know what I'm talking about when we're going to go back to kind of like what I used to do. And so Bill and I got together. Hall ran me down Saturday night. I don't know how in the world he found me to tell me that. And he said, you got to write tomorrow. And I said, well, Colonel, tomorrow's Sunday. He said, I know. We got to put this, FedEx got to pick this up Monday. And then he told me what it was, what Elvis was looking for. And so me and Rice came in, well, the other writers heard about it. So the publisher can't say, no, I can't send you a song. So they all wrote. Me and Bill just waited till they got through. We knocked the thing out in about 30 minutes, and Bill put it down. It was called Stirring Up Feelings. And it was kind of a takeoff on like what he used to do back in the 50s, up-tempo thing. And Felton called back on Wednesday and said, told Hall, Elvis listened to the songs, he didn't like any of them except the Foster and Rice song. He came in to record. They had the studio booked for a week at Creative Workshop. He stayed in town 2 hours and got sick. They put him in a hotel Quality Inn down from Nissan Stadium here. He stayed 2 hours, got sick, left, never got back in the studio. And it like to wreck me. Everybody heard about that song. It leaked out. Billy Sherrill called, wanting to do it on somebody. And Elvis still got a hold on it. So, and I ran Lamar Fike down in the studio, and I said, Lamar, they're driving me crazy about this song. And he said, Jerry, don't do it. He said, I've heard him work it up. He said, that song's going to be great for you. And he said, but if you pitch it, he'll never cut one of your songs again. 2 weeks later, I'm getting my hair cut and the radio was on. They said Elvis died today in Memphis. Time I got 2 blocks back to my writer's room, Bob Lumen was standing at my door and he said, Ian, cut that song now. Let me have it. It's been cut by him, Norval. He said, but Diana Trask, there's no gender in it. I mean, you can make it work either way. And nobody's hooked it.
Wow.
It's so strange, nobody.
So you never had an Elvis cut, but you do have an Elvis story
Oh,
about
yeah.
cheeseburgers.
Yes. What was happening was I was still in the Marine Corps, and I'm working on weekends at the biggest club in Savannah, seats 650 people. Elvis has got booked at the sports arena. It's sold out. And because I was on TV, the mayor got me in. I stood about maybe 20 feet from the stage and watched Elvis do his show. I felt sorry for everybody before him because every time, instead of applauding his little girls would stomp her feet and holler, we want Elvis, you know. Sonny, one comedian came out and said, I would like for him to come in too, but he's not here yet. We're just killing time. He's trying to get through his show. I understand that happened to him every time he worked it. Anyway, little did I know, when I was watching him about 13 years later, that would be my band. They worked for me, yeah. Well, after the show, I went and picked up my guitar player. He wasn't in the Marine Corps, but he lived in Beaufort. And my drummer cut Rock Around the Clock with Bill Haley. He was in field music in the Marine Corps. And so we got in the car and we start back to the base. And there's this little restaurant, I knew where it was right on the road. And I said, 2 cars. I said, we can get some food real quick here, let's just go in there. So we went in, the waitress was also the cashier and the cook, that's all it was. So we got seated and the drummer said, Jerry, I'm all right, just leave me in the car, I'm gonna sleep. So he sleep in the back seat. And she came on, I ordered 2 cheeseburgers, an order of fries, and a Pepsi. And she went to turn the order in, and when she did, Elvis walked in with his 2 cousins. And I said, Elvis, I saw your show tonight. I didn't hear a word you said. Those little girls were screaming so loud. And he kind of laughed. And the cousins went on and got a table a little further out. And he said, the show's always in the audience. And I said, well, I have a TV show. I said, I'm in the Marine Corps, but I'm from Southeast Missouri, and I know you played some of those little clubs up there when you were on Sun. He said, yeah, I said you worked at the B&B Club in Gobbler. I knew he wrote a bad check for that show. He kind of smiled and said, yeah. And so we was doing that kind of talk, and I said, would you like to sit down? He walked over and sat next to me. Here comes the waitress. He took his order, 2 cheeseburgers, order of fries. I should go start that, and well, we'd been talking for a while, so wasn't very much time went by, and he asked me, he said, Jerry, you know the way to Charlotte, North Carolina? And I said, yeah. So I gave him verbal directions, and we sat there and talked a little bit, and then here comes the waitress, and she's got this order, and she looked at both of us and said, who gets this? Well, he didn't know what I'd ordered. So both of us said, I do, at the same time, and I said, Elvis, that's my order. I'll split it with you, but I'm starving to death, so when yours get here, I want mine back. He said, a deal's a deal, man. And what he wanted to talk about was he had just auditioned for the movies. And I said, do you know what you're gonna do? Yeah. And I said, what? And he said, it's called The Rainmaker. And I think it's the part that Burt Lancaster did, where he was making it rain by beating on the drums. He really didn't say anything. Parker wouldn't let him do it because it really didn't have that much music in it, you know. So after talking for a little while about stuff like that, then he said, well, I need to go. And I said, yeah, I'm going to go too. I said, why don't you just wait a minute and I'll check out when you do and you can follow me and I will turn my blinker on where you turn off. And he said, okay. He was driving a white Cadillac convertible, brand new, which he later had painted purple, I found out. But he picked up a little box, a round container of pocket combs. You remember how well all the 50s were done the ducktail and all that stuff? And he looked at the waitress and he said, how much are these? He meant for one. She said, I don't even know how many's in there. There's probably 6 or 7. He said, well, $10 ought to cover it. That was a lot of money in 1956. So he handed her 10 and smiled. And I said, Elvis, I wonder if you'd do me a favor. And he said, what? And I said, my drummer's asleep out in the car. He was a drummer for Rock Around the Clock with Bill Haley, and he's in the Marine Corps with me. He said, first I said, I want you to meet my drummer. He said, I can't do that. And I said, what do you mean you can't do that? He's going to kill me tomorrow. And he said, Jerry, what did you say? I said, I wanted you to meet my drummer, and that's why I told him you cut Rock Around the Clock with Bill Haley. He said, I'd be glad to. He said, I thought you said you wanted me to meet a woman. He said, I've been remembering women over in Savannah all night. That's why he was at that little restaurant. He was picking a place where nobody knew him, and I did. I mean, so it was funny. But he was so nice to me. But he died before he could cut the song I told you about. But Elvis was, to me, one of the nicest people I ever met, and he really cared about other people. And it was obvious that he did, you know, but he was having fun. I think this was 1960, and Elvis was from January to November older than me. So he was older than me. I told you somebody what he died before I did.
And now you're 90 years old,
Yes.
so Elvis would have been as well.
Elvis would have been 91. Well, he would turn 92 in January. He would have already done it. Yeah, January. But anyway, that's my Elvis story, and I'm really sorry that some of the people who have misgivings about him didn't really get a chance to meet him personally, because he is one of the nicest people I ever met. You would never know that he was a major, major star. His current record when I met him was Hound Dog and Don't Be Cruel. He had a double hit.
Wow. He was right when he was
I'm
exploding.
going to tell you, it was June 20th, 1956.
Wow, you remember the exact
You know
date.
why I can remember it? He asked me for directions to Charlotte. I knew he played Savannah, so when I looked it up on the internet, sure enough, July 20th,
Is that
and then
right?
the next night he was booked in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Jerry, of all the songs that you've written, what would you consider your biggest hit?
God, Someone Give My Love To. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the most recorded song and the biggest hit we had.
What is your favorite song?
I will tell you that because there's a good story behind it. It was Rosie Cries a Lot, Pearl and Husky. It wasn't even a number one record, but it was an award winner. I was in Florida. I was invited by a radio station there, and they did a water show, and we went to that. And then when we come to the radio station, do interviews and let people call in and say hello or whatever. So I kind of can't remember the call letters of the station, but I got a call. He played it. Ferland did a lot of our songs, but this was a single for him. And this young woman called and said, "Mr. Foster, I would like to thank you for a song that you wrote." And I said, "I'm sure you're welcome. What was it?" And she said, "Well, let me tell you about that song." She said, "I got pregnant and I was 15 years old, and my parents disowned me." And she said, "I was going to kill myself." And I got a motel room, and I walked in. I had the bottle of whiskey, I had the pills, everything going, but the radio was on. And I guess probably what had happened is maybe the maid turned it on when she's cleaning up a room or something. And she said, "Because of that song, my parents are the proudest grandparents of the prettiest little girl you ever saw." And the family got back together. So that song saved 2 lives, hers and the baby,
Wow.
and also put a family back together. So that's my favorite song I've written, because that one, you know what, too, Scott, I'm going to say this. Writers, and this applies to all of us, you don't know when you're sitting in one of these windowless rooms writing something, who that's going to affect or how. But I took my parting shot with her was, "Honey, if I never write another song, my whole career has been worth this one phone call."
Wow. Rosie Cries a Lot.
Rosie Cries a Lot, Pearl and Husky.
Not only have you written some great songs, you wrote a great book.
Well,
Your autobiography, An Old Rebel Still Rockin'.
yeah.
And that was 15 years ago or so.
Yeah.
And you're still
That was
rocking.
over 15 years ago.
You're still rocking. And how can they get this?
Right now, it was on Amazon, and it may be out of print, I'm not sure, but I would say that if you check, your computer and stuff, and go to YouTube and see if you can find it.
And you wrote this all by yourself?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, I lived it all by myself.
Well, that's easy to do, but to actually write it yourself is...
There's some really unusual stories about my life. I've had a weird life anyway, but some stories that's totally weird. I mean, different than anything I've told you so far. And I'll just tell you a little bit of what I miss. I had played in London, Ontario, and it was a New Year's Eve, 1959. We were fixing to go into 1960, and that was our last show. And so loaded the band up, and we crossed at Detroit, stopped and filled up with gas. That's the coldest I ever was in my life. The wind was whipping off those lakes and stuff. Well, we're on a road we've never been on before, coming home. And we're kidnapping. We're taking a piano player home with us because we didn't have one. So my guitar player, guitar player, let him use his jacket. We had jackets alike, and he had on a little bomber jacket. And we're somewhere, after we'd filled up with gas in Detroit, maybe 35, 40 minutes out of Detroit, I propped my arm, I was riding shotgun, and I had my hand up like this, and all at once, my head dropped, and my finger hit my goose and woke me up. And about that time, Neil Wheeler was my driver, my bass player. He said, "Hey, Chief, it's hot in here. Would you help me get my jacket off?" And I said, "Yeah." So I was pulling it down, and we came to this real sharp curve with a barbed wire fence right down the side. And I saw he couldn't do the turn because I had his coat down too far. I saw the car flip. I saw the instruments fly out everywhere. And I saw myself flying like Superman into this barbed wire fence, and it hit me here, and I was going to get beheaded. That's what woke me up. This did. So as soon as I woke up, now what I told you was the dream. And when I woke up, first thing he said was, "Chief, it's hot in here. Would you help me get my jacket off?" I said, "Pull the car over." And he said, "What?" I said, "Stop the car now." So
Really?
he pulled it over. Yeah, and I recanted it, and I've made people switch seats. And then we're just not driving that fast. It wasn't much more than a mile. And there was the scene exactly as I had described it. I've never been on that road in my life.
Wow.
But we would have all been killed, because Neil was driving about 85 miles an hour.
Jerry, you are how old?
90.
What's the secret?
I don't act my age.
You don't. You do not.
Well, I had an aunt on each side of the family, on my mom's side, my dad's side, that made it to 100. So I said, my goal is to reach 106 and 7/8 and get shot by a jealous husband. I feel like I've accomplished something if I can do that.
And you're still performing
Yes.
every week?
Yeah. Every Sunday night I'm doing the Commodore at Holiday Inn West End, and I've been doing it for a pretty good while. In fact, I try to get Debbie in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. I mean, if Tootsie can get in, all she ever did was serve us drinks. And at least Debbie's really helped some writers. She exposes them. You never know who's in the audience, you know. And I learned that at an early age. You never know who's out there that might help you or kill you. It depends on whether they like you or not. So try to be likable.
Are you still writing songs?
I scribble a little bit, but you know what? Bill and I were so compatible that I really never considered anyone long range, like partnership or anything like we had. And so every once in a while I'll get a wild idea and scribble it, and I don't even pitch them anymore. Music changed so much to basically what Bill and I wrote was life. You know, I didn't live everything, but I saw a lot. I think a good songwriter has ears. You hear people talking, and if you can equate with something that's interesting they're talking about, that's a big help. It keeps you fresh a little bit, you know, because people are always saying good stuff when people talk, and you never know. I wrote a song. I'm going to tell you this little story real quick. I was recording for 20th Century Fox, and I came in to record, and the engineer was Billy Sherrill, the producer. They hadn't even started yet. I wasn't living here. And Bill Hall was here that night too. But anyway, and we start the session. And the guitar player's new. And I mean, he's playing so much, it's unbelievable. And I was doing a thing, and I'll do it for you real quick because it's a recitation. It's called The Fight. And Ben Calder, Shep Willey cut it as Ben Calder, but it starts out, I was standing on a corner across an alley from downtown, minding everybody's business but my own, when along came a short, sort of skinny little runt, the kind that looked harmless to pick on. I began our conversation by calling him some names and telling him he sure did look a sight. And knowing I could whip him, I let him stand right there and talk big old me into the fight. First, I took my big old face and smashed him in the fist, and I hit him till my nose was just a wreck. Then I placed my head firmly in his hands, and I began to wring them with my neck. With my big old mouth, I bit him in the shoe until my dying day. I don't know why. Then from a prone position, I looked right up at him and poked him in the finger with my eye. With my mangled fingers, I reached up from out the dust, asked him if he thought he'd had enough. I thought it fair to warn him that we'd better discontinue before I really started getting rough. Well, I didn't hear his answer. I laid down and went to sleep. Now, just to prove how unafraid I was. But if another little fella ever tries to pick on me, I'm going to do some thinking before he does. Anyway, that was the song. It's like I said, well, this guitar player is playing so much that we couldn't even use that for an A side, we had to put it on a B side. It distracted from the lyric. If you don't get the story,
Sure.
The guitar player was a guy named Jerry Hubbard, who the world came to know as Jerryreed, and he was playing everything he could for everybody in there, so he maybe get some more jobs on session work.
Wow. Wow.
That was a long way to tell you who the guitar player was, but
That is pretty amazing.
we almost couldn't use the record because he played so much.
I mentioned a few awards that are behind us here.
Yes.
Your Wall of Fame, and you've got a whole bunch more just piled up in your
Yeah, they're
closet.
stacked up in a shelf.
We might go take a little video of you showing us that, and your styling here and your coat. You're pretty fashionable.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Well, I don't know. It is.
Well, you know, I came from an era where if you're an entertainer, you're supposed to look like one. And a lot of people, to me, look more like we did when I was farming, when you was just riding around on a tractor.
Well, might have to take a little video of your closet too.
Oh, okay.
See what you got there. Jerry, you are a treasure. You're one of the joys of Nashville.
Oh man, I appreciate you saying that. But all my folks were from here, both sides of the family. I just happened to grow up very poor. I was born dead, technically, you know, and I was the third son. The other two were dead.
Really?
Yeah, and so I felt like that God maybe kept me around for some reason, and something else tried to kill me, but it didn't work.
When you moved to Nashville all those years ago, did your life turn out like you had dreamed?
You know what? I look back at the way things worked, and maybe it was good for me not to make it as a singer, because, I mean, most of those, a lot of them, I don't say most, but a lot of them got into all kinds of drugs. I never got into the drug scene at all, and I never liked the taste of alcohol. So I mean, kind of being a writer, it helped to be halfway sane. Now, the other half of me has always been crazy, but I just think that God's been good to me. I think my talent came from there because nobody taught me how to do that. And I would say, to me, the best thing about being where I was writing what I felt and what I heard, and I lived a lot of it too, and being able to feel. You know, I could feel other people's pain as well. So I'm just thankful that I've had the career I've had, and I really appreciate it, because you know, a lot of people try, and I don't wish anybody bad. And I'm working on some stuff right now that's really going to wind up helping some people. I've had an offer to do an hour television show, and I think I'm going to call it Jerry Foster's Classic Country Hour. And what I want to do is, some of these kids I scout at the Commodore, I listen to everybody. I stayed till the last note dies. If I can find maybe like 6 of them to start with, I'll rotate it. But I want to do an album on each one.
Wow.
And sell it, market it on television, and make sure they get paid. and it's not going to cost them anything to do the album. We've got sponsors that will do that. And right now we're dealing with somebody that we think is going to wind up being the investors in this thing. And I also have a sitcom.
Really?
Yeah, and I will tell you a little bit about that because it's part of this deal too. But it's 30 minutes, and it's a country version of Cheers. And I'm going to do the thing for you because it's 4 lines. But it's called Blue Collar Holler, and it takes place in a bar just like Cheers did. But it's based on my life. A lot of the stuff happened. Comedy is tragedy turned inside out, so I've had a lot of that. And my daughter is my head writer. I got her a record deal when she was 14, was epic. She could sing, and as soon as the record came out and stuff started, she decided she wanted to jump horses.
Really?
Yeah. She was Miss Cinderella USA, so she was a beautiful young woman. But anyway, that show is they're going to, I'm planning on franchising Blue Collar Holler all over the country and building, think Cracker Barrel. When you walk in, it'll be merchandising. For all these artists we're building, we'll sell their T-shirts, everything, and records. And the back part is a bar and a stage. And I'm probably going to use the same band for both shows. But we've had interest in that. We would have already been on a long time ago, but we had the people that did Nashville. One of the producers did 18 episodes of that. I heard about this, I was told about it. I spoke to him on the phone, and he sent it to LA, and they got all excited. 3 days, they're looking for a showrunner. 3 days after they got it, COVID hit and all production shut down. I lost 3 years with that. And then by the time we got back primed again, the writer's strike. My writers didn't strike, but artists joined it. So we couldn't get the people that we needed. So we got some really good people who are committed to do it. We got Charlene Tipton, who was with Dallas.
Oh, Charlene Tilton.
Yeah, and I got Myron Nash as a producer. He produced Falcon Crest. So, I mean, we've got some really major people working with us doing this. And it's going to be good.
Jerry Foster. He's 90 years and holding.
Yeah.
Holding everything he can. Think about it, darling. Jerry,
thank you, Scotty.
Thank you for your time.
I appreciate you, man. You do more to help than I do.
Thank you for watching. These are just a few of yours. Here's
That's someone to give my love to.
Yeah.
That's the most recorded.
72.
Yeah. So this would have been, let's see, I think this was Bob Lumen, 72, yeah, because Sonny and Cher cut it a little bit low. They covered Lumen and had a pop hit with it.
All right, so you have a nice display here.
I'm out of wall space.
So how many do you think you have?
I have 68 of these.
68.
Yeah.
So we're gonna show where some of them are now.
Oh, this is a mess.
And so here you got your golf balls.
Yeah, yeah.
You got
I'm
a
not
lot of
very
golf
good,
balls.
but I have a lot of fun.
You got a lot
I
of
need a
golf
lot
balls.
because I lose a lot.
So right by the pile of golf balls.
Yes.
Then you come over here.
Yeah, these are the rest of the what I told you about.
You just have them piled up,
Yeah, it was this right here.
and then you got these piled up, and
This is singles. Those gold awards, when I had it there in Branson, I had them framed for the wall in the theater. Play With Me, that was Penny DeHaven.
okay.
Yeah.
ASCAP.
And some of these were award winners, some were not, but these were chart records. That Ryson had that was my record. I Knew You When on Motown.
I just saw this pile, but
Well,
you got
they
piles
go
there.
over.
And-
There's 200 of them. Those were singles. So, you know, if it's just good.
And then in this pile.
That was the first award. This was the first one we hung on the wall. This was for Charley Pride. The Easy Part's Over. Yeah.
Easy parts over.
Yeah, but we went with BMI right. I remember with ASCAP right after that.
And so then you just got them piled up.
Yeah,
So, like everybody's storage place, you got your Christmas decorations.
Oh yeah, everything's just thrown together in here.
Santa, I can explain, but I don't know if you can explain all these awards that are just piled
Oh God,
up.
there's the rest of the 68
See who
series.
we
There's
got.
24 of them on the board.
This is I'm a Honky Tonk Woman's Man.
Yeah, Bob Lumen, big
Wow.
record for Bob Lumen.
Jeez.
God, I'm lucky I can remember all this stuff. When you
I'll tell
get
you,
90, you kind of fail.
You have a great memory, Jerry.
I can't remember my memory.
You have a really great memory. So you got your refrigerator in here, and
Yes.
you open the fridge, and it's got more awards in the fridge.
Only you, Scott,
you-
would even think to look
You got
there.
a freezer full of awards.
You're a mess. No wonder I like you. You're as crazy as I am.
And there's your Marine coat,
Yes, sir. That's one of my jackets. Yep.
and
I
you.
was proud to do that because, first of all, the Marine Corps, had not been for the Marine Corps, I probably wouldn't have made it. I had some time that I could do other things. In the daytime, I was a Marine. Night, I'm working with a little band. And eventually, we started working in the back end of a grocery store. And that's kind of where it started. One night, a guy that ran the Pontiac dealership heard the music. So he stuck his head in the door. He said, "Who runs this band?" And I said, "I do. Why?" And he said, "I'll give you $25, this is 1956, if you'll come down and play in my yard for 30 minutes. And I'm 2 blocks down the street." I said,
Really?
"Okay." Yeah, so when we got down, I recognized him. I said, "Aren't you Mr. Talbot? Don't you own the Pontiac dealership?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Why don't you sponsor us a radio show at WBEU?" And he said, "Okay." He didn't say, "I'll think about it." He's okay. We were on 2 weeks, and that's when I got the television show right after that.
Wow. Can you show us your clothes?
Yeah, but you have to follow me because it ain't
Let's
this
go.
one.
We're going to check out his closet.
Yeah, okay. There's I had 6 of these suits in different colors.
Wow.
It's
Man, no wonder you're styling all the time.
well,
I had no idea.
that suit still fits me, and that was a suit that I wore, I guess, in '76.
That must weigh 20 pounds.
It weighs more than that.
Wow.
They had that done in Vegas. They've been studying, and it's faded so much. It's unbelievable. Yeah, the pants are under that. But this is the one that the woman that did Doc Severson's clothes for Johnny Carson did this part.
Wow.
You got the suit here, but it's the pants and the shirt. And it's kind of an Elvis looking thing, I guess.
Absolutely.
But it's just, I'm trying to, I don't throw stuff away. I probably should, some of this stuff, you know, but you was talking about this coat.
Yes.
This is the pants to it. And I got a brown
Is
one
this,
just
is
like
this
it.
leather?
Yeah.
Wow.
Elvis and I shopped a lot, like
Man, he would
same
he
place.
would have went crazy in this. Oh wow.
That's yeah, that's the best of the jacket, the whole suit.
You could
but-
sing him a song and do a magic show. Too.
Yeah, I said, as long as I don't make myself disappear, I'm in good shape.
Now, tell me about these shoes. What the heck?
Yeah, they match some of the uniforms I got.
Well, whenever you're around Jerry, don't be stepping on his shoes.
Yeah,
or
don't put gold glitter shoes.
Now, what's the reason with this?
I don't know, it just looked good, so I bought it. And it goes with anything that's got this, even that black suit looks good with the black, because it's got the same kind of rhinestones on the front. And
Dang.
the color. Then there's gold. You know, that was light gold. The one right up there on the left, that's the one I'm talking about wearing with the black suit. This one.
Oh, this.
Yeah, that's the silver. That matches the rhinestones.
Jerry, I've been to a lot of country stars' homes. You got the clothes. You got it.
Well, you know, I feel comfortable. It's really funny because some people don't. I do. I feel less comfortable in just ordinary stuff. These good pair of shoes too. That goes with almost anything. You know, so. But
yeah, I tell my wife I wear those. They go with almost anything.
yeah, almost anything. Anything black or gold or shiny. But this was
That's fantastic.
And these are Italian jackets. You know, I actually bought 6 of these. The first one I bought was this one. These, like you looked at, was black.
Oh yeah.
I usually don't wear the bow tie, but it goes with it. So,
Wow.
yeah, see, and it's got the vest and the trousers. It's a full suit. Yeah. So, but anyway, I just love these things, man, because I've only worn this once, I think.
Can I try this for
Sure,
on?
sure. That looks good with black, by the way.
You know what? I think it almost fits me perfect.
It does fit you.
Do I look like award-winning songwriter?
Well, if you look like
That's
me,
nice.
Great ex-boxer.
you don't have enough white hair.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, well, congratulations, you'll get there too. You have a great attitude, Scotty.
Well,
Yeah, it's been fun talking to you because I feel like I've known you forever.
well,
Just,
I've known you forever. Like I said, I played all your music for years. And
you know what, I always like to meet people that know that era because it was so different than it is
Oh,
now.
yes.
You know, it's like so many things have changed.